Dr. Cummings nailed it when he said, my passion for kids, especially my own son. I love my kids without end. When I think about my history and the things that I've experienced, I go back to and have to actually start in 1989. I actually was part of a helmet safety campaign. Allegheny Hospital at the time was finding out all of these tragic accidents were happening to kids who were just simply falling off their bike and hitting their head on the concrete or a curb. Serious brain trauma, if not death. And if we could just put helmets on kids when they got onto a bike. Well, I became part of that campaign along with the Penguins and the Pirates. Zarly Zalapsky, that we'll talk about in a podcast later that you'll get to understand his story. He was part of that campaign with me. Well, then you look at 1991. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the first team to ever do cognitive testing. Even though it was voluntary, I was part of that. I did my first cognitive test in baseline in 91. Now, when I went to Chicago didn't have that. They didn't even have a neurologist on staff. My career ended there. I had 2 concussions, 2 severe ones within about a 5-week period. I went back to Pittsburgh and actually retook that baseline. And that baseline test that I took in 1994 was the one that retired me. I was the first player in NFL history to have that tool as something that retired and ended my career. I actually looked at the situation. The Steelers were doing A, neurologist on staff, Joe Maroon, cognitive testing. The Bears were not. So I actually took the doctor that improperly evaluated me to court, and I won. Changed the protocol of what happened in the National Football League. And that was really my focus at the time. How can we make football, the NFL, better and safer with these protocols in place? That started to take form. Well, when you go to 2003, my son wants to start playing football. He's 7 years old. Here's what I was excited about. I was going to be able to create a safer environment for Bo. I was going to put a protocol in place. It was the first time ever in youth football history where a protocol was in place. Even though it was just in my team and within our community, there was going to be a protocol. And that protocol was simple. I would tell my kids, if you had any type of head trauma, I'll remove you, you don't return, and you don't play the next week. It's just a flat rule. Now, in a 7-year period, that only happened twice, and it happened when they got to around age 14, but I applied that rule. Well, then I became a part of USA Football on the board and really helped them establish what we call heads-up football. I actually took all of the principles and rules Chuck Noll used to teach about how you play the game, and he used to say this: you're a better, safer player if you do this. Same foot, same shoulder, rising blow, first contact wins. Well, youth football needed some direction. I kept thinking about those things, took those out of my playbook, sent them in. That became heads-up football. We launch it in 2008. 2009, I go to Congress, and I speak on behalf of the kids from ages 8 to 18. We were doing stuff in the NFL, college football, but there's only a little over 100-some thousand players in those categories. Millions are playing from 8 to 18, and we weren't doing anything there. We needed to change that. So I went to Congress to challenge them, establish a protocol to help kids 8 to 18. I then returned to the Pentagon in 2011 because then there was this mindset of, it's a hard injury because, you got to be tough. Well, I used to tell my youth players all the time, football is a tough game for tough people, but it's also a smart game for intelligent people. And we're going to be smart if we get hurt. Once my kids heard that, they understood it. So 2011, we tried to help the military understand that and how to access it and how to use it to help anybody that has had any type of brain trauma. Well, then that leads me to where we are today, 2018, to write this book. All the things that I have experienced, the people that I know, I don't expect people to have lived what I've lived or gone through what I've gone through. But I am just like you in the sense I've read the headlines. I can see how you can get scared. I can see how you're concerned. That's why I wrote the book. Once I found out the truth of the science, the real facts, even though I'd lived them, even though my gut told me, my instinct said something's wrong here, I had to verify that. That is exactly why Dr. Cummings is invaluable. From his experience, from Boston University, and all of the decades he's worked and understands the neuropathology world, the science of it. Once I understood the truth, I knew I had to share that. And that is really brings us to this book and this website, information for you to help you and empower you.